Alrighty, morning everyone, and welcome back to another beautiful video on this beautiful channel on another beautiful day. In today's video, I would like to talk to you about my realistic projection for the price of silver in the future. For example, maybe until the year 2025. And there have been a lot of very interesting predictions all over the internet in recent times. And I get it, right? I get it. We all like silver. We are all probably enthusiastic about silver and assume that the price of silver is going to be at a, higher point in the future. Let's just call it that. But in my opinion, some people have been overdoing it a bit. And by a bit, I mean, people, let's be honest here. It is very unlikely that silver is gonna cost more than $1,000 an ounce at any point in time in purchasing power, in today's purchasing power. Of course, the dollar might lose some value in the future, just like every currency will at some point. But with today's purchasing power, I don't think that this is ever going to happen. So today we're going to talk about my prediction for what the price of silver might look like in, for example, 3 to 5 years or something like that, right? Something that we can probably say is a not so long time frame, but still something that we can look at and say, okay, the price of silver might behave this and this and this and that way. And so we're going to do that today. But before we do that, we're going to take a look at all the stuff that I brought for you today. You might already have noticed we've got a little bit of a change of scenery going on, and that's because the other room is getting a little bit cold and, it's just a little bit warmer down here. So, yeah, we're doing it down here today. And I've brought a lot of different coins today because I've actually been to my storage place. So, yeah, we've got a lot of different stuff today that I can show you, and we're going to start with this right here. This is a 2017 Luna 2 Year of the Rooster coin. Real beautiful coin. I've actually got every size but the 10 kilo coin of this 2017 Year of the Rooster coin, and I'm very happy about that. I would have liked to have the 10 kilo coin, of course, but they're very hard to come by and also very expensive, so it's not a big surprise that I don't have that. Continuing on, I've got this 50-gram gold bar, ESG gold bar. I really like these bars because you can actually just take them out of the package without destroying it and just take a look at your little bar. And these are very, very nice, beautiful cast bars. So that's also a very cool thing. And they just slip into this little zip bag and, you can just store them this way or store them without it and store it separately, whatever you might want to do. A very cool concept, I think. So the next one is one of our last unboxing, and this is the 2022 Dragon Rectangular, which is completely covered in milk spots. I was a bit annoyed about it in that video that we did the unboxing in. But, right now, I just don't really care. I still like the design, and it is what it is, right? I don't really want to worry about that too much, so I'm just going to enjoy the bar as it is. And the last thing I brought is the 5-ounce Australian Redback Spider from the Australia's Most Dangerous series from the Royal Australian Mint. Beautiful coin, one of my all-time favorite 5-ounce coins, and coins in general. It's just a very, very cool design, and I really like creepy crawlies, so that's a really cool coin for me. And it's also a coin that has a very low mintage. I think it has a mintage of like 1,000 pieces or something like that. Not a high mintage at all, and it's definitely gone up in value quite a bit since I bought it. So, my prediction for the price of silver. I think that it is reasonable to assume that the production of silver is going to get more expensive in the future, with stuff like, for example, labor rising in price and also fuel rising in price. And no, you cannot mine metals with electric vehicles. Why not? Because you need electricity there. Mines usually operate, if at all, on generators, and that would be extraordinarily expensive, and you would still need fuel because generators don't run on thin air. So that's not going to happen anytime soon. And besides that, I'm also not the biggest fan of electricity in vehicles because there's just, at the moment, there's a lot of stuff that is not going right with that, in my opinion. But that might change in the future. We'll have to see. But right now, that's just not going to happen. And so the prices of these things is just going to rise. The prices of these are just going to rise. So, in my opinion, it is reasonable to assume that maybe until the year like 2025, or maybe even like 5 years in the future, the price of silver might be around $30 spot price. I'm not talking about the actual price that you pay for an ounce of silver, because we all know that's already at $30. So I think that's reasonable to assume. That's with reasonable inflation and just reasonable increase in overall things getting expensive, right? And just overall availability of silver as well, right? Because we all know that there aren't unlimited amounts of silver on the planet. As far as reserves go, so that's not the entire silver that's available on the planet, but that's the silver that we can mine with the current price of silver, right? The silver that is lucrative to mine at the current price of silver, or that is possible to be mined. I guess it's not perfect English, but you know what I mean. And the problem with that is that can rise, right? Right now we are at less than 20 years reserves for silver that can still be mined. Now, if the price of silver goes up to maybe $30, then that number increases. The amount of silver that can be dug out of the ground profitably increases, and so we get more time, right? By increasing the price of silver, we basically just buy more time to, produce it, basically. And so I think it's realistic to assume that this is only going to go up, of course, right? Because there's no real way of it going back down, because then you would, be able to produce even less silver, and we need silver. And it's very, very reasonable to assume that in 20 years' time, when these reserves are gone, pretty much, if the price of silver doesn't change, these reserves will be gone in 20 years. Now, some of you might be saying, okay, that's the same thing they said about oil like 20 years ago. Yes, but the price of oil has been going up, hasn't it? So that's the reason why oil is still there and still available, even though 20 years ago they said the reserves are only going to last 20 years. Because with the price, that was the case back then, which is the only reasonable way you can determine your reserves, it was 20 years, but the price has risen, and since the reserves have risen as well. And they will continue to rise as long as the price continues to rise. That's how reserves work, because it's not the current available silver, but it's the silver that you can mine without taking a loss. So that's pretty much the situation. The price of silver can't go down if we want to continue to mine silver in like 20 years or something like that, right? So what is reasonable to assume? I think it's reasonable to assume that it's going to rise at a somewhat steady pace over the next couple of years, as long as nothing majorly bad happens. If some stuff really hits the fan, of course, then silver, because it is basically a currency for crisis situations, then it will probably go up in price even more, right? But just for like economic reasons and stuff like that, I don't really think that it's gonna go up that quickly and that much. I really don't see that, because you wouldn't need that. You would only need it to increase a little bit every year so that you can postpone the time when your reserves are going to run out further and further and further into the future, which is the only thing you really need from an industrial point of view. So, in my opinion, that is reasonable. It might be $30 in 2025. It might be 40 or 50 a few years later. It might not be that much at all, because at the end of the day, we still have almost 20 years. So we could just stay at this price, go right until the end of those 20 years with this price, and then just bump it up to like $150 or something like that, right? Of course, that's not going to happen, but I think you know what I mean. So yeah, what do you think? How's the price of silver going to behave in the future, in your opinion? In my opinion, I think it's going to go up, but I don't think it's reasonable to assume that it's going to go to like $1,000 of purchasing power. I really don't think so. I don't really see a reason for that to happen. So yeah, that's pretty much it from my side. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you've got any more questions whatsoever, be sure to write them in the comments below. I'd be very happy to answer them, as always. If you want to, you can also rate the video with like a thumbs up or a thumbs down, whatever you might want to do. And if you wouldn't mind that, you can also subscribe to the channel, because that would make me very happy. So yeah, Thank you very much. Have a fantastic week, and until next time.